Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story that is literally reshaping an entire continent. In response to a world that's changed dramatically, Europe is rearming at a speed we haven't seen in generations, and it's kicking off a massive industrial revolution in the process.
And this number, well, it pretty much says it all. 11.5%. That's the top-end forecast for how much Europe's defense industry is expected to grow every single year for the next decade. Let's be clear, this isn't just a small bump, it's a seismic shift.
And this quote from a Rothschild report really captures the mood. Basically, the demand is so insane that orders are piling up way faster than factories can even process them. We are, without a doubt, watching an unprecedented industrial boom take shape.
All right, so let's start by pulling back and getting the big picture here. Just what is the staggering scale of this transformation?
So European spending is absolutely surging, on track to hit 326 billion euros this year. But then you look over at the United States, 800 billion. And that huge gap right there, that is the single biggest reason behind Europe's push for what they call strategic autonomy, which is really just the ability to defend itself by itself.
And all that government cash is going straight into the order books of the continent's biggest defense companies. I mean, look at this. BAE Systems is sitting on a 94 billion euro backlog. But the real jaw-dropper here is Germany's Rheinmetall, a whopping 54% jump in just 1 year. You can bet the phones are ringing off the hook.
But here's the thing. This spending spree isn't happening equally everywhere. Some countries are moving way faster than others, especially the ones that have historically underspent or, are just geographically closer to the front lines.
So to really get a handle on this, let's zoom in on the industrial engine right at the heart of Europe, Germany.
For, well, decades, Germany kept its military spending on the back burner. That whole era, it's officially over. The country is going through what it calls a Zeitenwende, which means a profound turning point in its entire approach to defense and security.
And here is the number to prove it. 649 billion euros. That's Germany's planned defense budget by 2029. We're talking about a plan to more than double its spending and finally hit its NATO targets.
And you can see the country's famous industrial machine just roaring to life. Rheinmetall wants to be making 1 million artillery shells a year. ThyssenKrupp is building out its shipyards. Hensoldt is doubling its radar production, and KNDS is pumping out more Leopard tanks. This is a full-blown industrial mobilization.
But, this whole thing isn't just about building stuff at home. A huge piece of this new strategy is about forging new and absolutely crucial partnerships, especially in the places that need this equipment the most.
All right, so let's drill down even deeper and see how this actually plays out on the front lines through a really key corporate alliance that's happening as we speak.
So, when we talk about these partnerships, what are we really talking about? They're called strategic alliances. And think of them less like a merger or a marriage and more like a temporary team-up for a very specific mission. Let's see how they work.
And yeah, these things have a pretty clear life cycle, from kicking things off all the way to wrapping them up. But you know what? A real-world example makes this so much clearer.
And this is a perfect one. It's a joint venture between Germany's Rheinmetall and the Ukrainian defense industry, or UDI. Rheinmetall took the majority 51% stake to create a company that's going to first repair and then later actually produce armored vehicles right there inside Ukraine. This is a huge landmark deal and a first for Ukraine's state-owned defense conglomerate.
So, you've got all this money pouring in, all these new alliances forming. But here's the really fascinating part. All of this rapid growth is actually starting to expose some really deep cracks in the foundation of Europe's entire defense ecosystem. It's just not as simple as throwing more money at the problem.
Okay, so let's pull the camera back out again and look at the immense hurdles that could, honestly, threaten to undermine this entire rearmament effort.
Okay, so here is the single biggest problem boiled down. In the US, you've got one big buyer, the Department of Defense. It's simple. In Europe, it's like trying to sell your product to dozens of different customers who all have their own unique wish list. That fragmentation just makes everything slower, more expensive, and way more complicated.
And that one problem creates this whole domino effect of other issues. With no central buyer, R&D spending gets dwarfed by the US. We're talking more than 10 to 1. That, in turn, leads to a heavy reliance on American suppliers. Then you throw in limited access to funding and a serious shortage of skilled workers, and you've got some major hurdles.
And if you want a perfect picture of that funding problem, here it is. This chart shows bond market activity. U.S. defense firms can basically just tap a fire hose of capital whenever they need it. European companies? Well, they're working with more of a garden hose. It just makes it that much harder to fund the huge investments needed to scale up.
So, with all that in mind, let's get to our final section and ask the big question about what this all means for the future.
And it all boils down to this one question. Can Europe really achieve that strategic autonomy it's looking for? Well, this chart tells a pretty stark story. Between mid-2022 and mid-2023, almost two-thirds, 63% of Europe's defense buys came from U.S. firms. Only 22% came from suppliers inside the EU.
So look, fixing this deep dependency isn't just about building more factories. It's a political problem, plain and simple. It's going to take immense, sustained political will to get everyone on the same page, guarantee funding for decades, and really build a self-sufficient European industrial base.
And that really leaves us with one final and kind of sobering question to think about. As the world just keeps getting more and more unpredictable, is this whole quest for European self-sufficiency just an ambitious goal to have, or has it now become an absolute necessity for survival?